Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Your Everyday Economics. In my previous video, I mentioned there are two ways inflation happens. One is through demand side and the other one is through supply side. Let's look into both of them in little bit detail in this video. The demand pull inflation happens when people have a lot of money in their hand and want to buy more, but there is not enough supply to match their demand. Or in other words, too much money is chasing too few goods. This happens when the economy is at or very close to full employment level. By full employment, we mean there's enough jobs in the market for everyone who is actively looking for a job. The demand pull inflation can happen when there's a lot of money in people's hand, which could be a result of low interest rates. If the bank interest rates are low, people can easily borrow at a lower cost and thus can buy and demand more goods and services which are not matched by enough supply. As a result, producers have to increase their prices because they cannot increase the supply in the short run. To explain this graphically, let's look at the demand and supply model. On y-axis, we denote the general price level since inflation reflects general price level rise. On x-axis, we will show the real quantity of goods and services, or you can say the real GDP. In this graph, demand will be aggregate demand as this represents demand from the entire economy. This demand is also downward sloping as demand for any normal item should be. So it is with the same assumption that overall in the economy, people will demand more of a certain item when it's priced at a lower price, given everything else remains the same. Similarly, the aggregate supply curve will slope upward because more businesses and firms will be willing to supply more at a higher price because they will make more profits on it. With the assumption that everything else is staying the same, the price level and the quantity are set where the aggregate demand meets the aggregate supply. When there is an excess money in circulation, meaning the interest rates are low and overall people have a lot of money to spend, you will see that this shifts the aggregate demand upward. So in this graph, you'll see that we get this new equilibrium E1 where the new demand and supply meet. And the new price is P1 and the new quantity is Q1. This happens in the short run when the producers and businesses are not able to increase their supply as much to meet the increased demand. As a result, they charge more prices for each quantity demanded. Now let's look at what is the second source of inflation, which is the cost push inflation. Supply can fall due to a variety of reasons, sometimes because of the increased cost of the raw material that are needed to produce a finished item. It can also cause due to a natural calamity. Most recently, the world experienced that during COVID pandemic and after the Russia-Ukraine war, that overall the supply of a lot of items were reduced. So let's take an example of the price of crude oil that was going up in 2022. So in this graph, this supply shock has caused the price to go up from P to P1 and the quantity supplied reduced from Q to Q1. You will see that the supply curve moved up or leftwards, which was because of the reduced amount of supply of global crude oil. Because it was a necessity, the demand did not shift, and as a result, the price of crude oil went up and the quantity supplied went down. To sum up the video, I want to say that inflation is caused by a variety of factors, but the most common would include number one, increase in demand. When there's an increase in demand for goods and services, it can lead to an increase in prices. This is because suppliers are able to charge higher prices when demand is high. Number two, increase in production cost. When the cost of producing goods and services increases, it can lead to an increase in prices as businesses try to maintain their profit margins. Number three, increase in money supply or the money that's circulating in the hands of people. This leads to increase in prices as people have more money to spend and are willing to pay more for goods and services. Next is decrease in supply. When the supply of goods and services decreases, it can lead to an increase in prices as consumers compete for a limited supply of products and are willing to pay higher for it. And the last factor is external factors. These include natural disasters, political instability, international conflicts, etc., that can lead to inflation by disrupting supply chains and increasing production costs. So I hope you found today's video useful and you learned a lot more about inflation. If you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up and I'll see you soon in my next video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done already. Take care and have a nice day.